American Majority.
Alright gang, welcome to the first of the 2020 new media program video tutorials or webinars or webcasts or whatever you want to call them. Essentially what we're going to be doing is taking about 20 minutes, roughly 20 minutes each week to discuss a different aspect of online activism. Things ranging from general SEO, that's search engine optimization for your website, to building a Facebook fan page, YouTube, Twitter, you name it, we're going to cover it. So I hope you'll stick with us. If you haven't already, and this is the first time you're kind of being shown this video, I hope you'll go to AmericanMajority.org, and on the front page there you'll see a feature section where you can click through to sign up for these awesome 2020 new media program webcasts that'll be sent to your inbox every week. So without much further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this one here. This is called Social Capitalist, and the reason we wanted to start with this is we really feel that this encapsulates a lot of the different tactics we're going to talk about. Each different aspect of online activism, whether it's building a very comprehensive and effective fan page, to YouTube videos, to a robust Twitter account, all of these things really play into your online identity. Your ability to connect with others, and essentially what we're calling in American Majority your social capital. So what is a social capitalist, right? So a social capitalist is essentially someone who understands that their network is their net worth. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, essentially in today's society, especially those of us who are online, those of us who are volunteering for campaigns, if you're working on a campaign, then you especially understand, and this really drills home to politics, that your network really can win or lose a race for you. Those kind of relationships you've built up, that you've cultivated, who can you get boots on the ground? Who's going to come down to phone bank? Can you pull those people out of their house to come vote? So a lot of that plays into to this idea of social capital, and how much social capital are you gaining or losing by your efforts online. And again, everything we're going to talk about here is how to win online, but we're going to win online, we're going to organize online to win offline. Okay, so this is all about putting boots on the ground, creating strategies online that will help you win your political battles offline. Okay, so make no mistake about that. Well, listen, the network is your net worth. We already talked about that, but I do want to highlight a quote from Mr. Reingold here, Howard Reingold. Yes, it's the same Howard Reingold that you see right here. Well-known critic. He's been around forever, seems like. The father of the internet in a lot of regards. So he says, what you know or don't know about networks can influence how much freedom, wealth, and participation you and your children will have in the rest of the century. I know I just read it to you there, guys, but I really want to drill down. I want you to take that into consideration. It may be a little bit over-exaggerated, but I think it really hits to the core of what we want to talk about here, is that a lot of times people come and ask us at trainings, well, I don't care. Well, I don't care what people are saying about me online. I don't care about social networks. You don't have to explicitly join a social network for someone to talk about you, for someone to create a profile for you. Google will look up your name, regardless if you want Google to talk about you or not. Whether you want the internet to create an image of who you are, it's happening, guys. It's happening. The left understands it. For instance, during the 2008 presidential campaign, Barack Obama's campaign understood that people would be Googling or searching online for information that was not just positive but also negative. So what they would do is they would invest a lot of time into buying and cultivating a web presence around keywords that were either negative, explicitly negative to Barack Obama, or maybe they were positive to John McCain, but John McCain's camp had not reached out and built a community or a profile around those words. So when they were put in and searched for, Barack Obama came out ahead, and he could put his information there and again define himself before the other person could define him. Which takes us into our next key point. Online reputation equals what you do and what people say about you. Okay? It's not just what you put up on the internet. The internet is not static like it used to be. There's an online conversation going on all the time. So people can take what they like about you, what they hate about you. They can share it. They can parse it. They can split it up. They can pass it to a million different ways. They can put your head on someone else's body and send it through an email. So you really have to be aware of what's going on and understand that your online reputation, the kind of intrinsic value that that you're going to be building, the social capital that you're going to retain online, is not just about what you do, but it's what people are saying about your efforts. So they're what they're saying about your presence, and I think that's really important to remember, especially when we start talking about defining yourself. Listen, the first rule of politics is to define yourself first, right? Without a doubt. Some of you may remember good old Mr. Michael Dukakis here. Great example of someone who really had a hard time defining themselves, not first, but throughout the campaign. As you can see here, if you remember Michael Dukakis, that famous picture of him wearing the helmet inside the tank, the first Bush was able to use that during the election and really kind of make a mockery of his ability to be a strong and a powerful commander-in-chief. And the results kind of speak for themselves here. You can see, George H.W. Bush won with a landslide. And so that really kind of reiterates our point that you have to define yourself first. Otherwise, you're going to be playing catch-up to whatever someone else has to say about you. So again, define yourself first, and it's very, very key. And with the internet, you have the option to define yourself to a very large and broad audience without having to put a lot of time and or monetary resources into it, which is a really big key point. And one of the things that we're going to talk about is how do we go through each of these steps, whether it's a blog or a website, a fan page, a Twitter account. How do we do all these things at either a very low charge to yourself or a very low fee, or at no expense to your organization yourself? So that's one of the things we're going to keep in mind when we talk about these different aspects. Google Juice. Now, what in the heck is Google Juice? Well, again, this is going to be kind of an overarching topic here. We're going to talk a little bit about everything, and I'm going to go into more detail in a later webcast about a lot of these different tactics that we're going to be talking about. Essentially, Google Juice refers to the amount of, or the placement rather, that Google gives your website, your blog on its homepage. I think the statistic is something over 80% of people don't go past the first page on Google. So if you really want to get, if you really want your information rather to be front and center, if you really want the information, the message that you've crafted to be seen by the masses, you've really got to focus on getting on that first page. And even more importantly, you want to get in that top 3 or 4 spots, those top links. So how do we do that? Google Juice. That's where Google Juice comes in. No, Google Juice does not refer to a beverage. Essentially, Google Juice is the kind of juice that you have flowing to your website, the amount of links that you have coming in, going out, the content, the keywords, all these things kind of play into your Google Juice or your power or ability rather to get ranked in the top spots on Google. Now, if a lot of this doesn't make sense to you, I wouldn't worry about it. We're gonna go a lot deeper and a lot more in depth and at a slower pace in the next couple webcasts. So, why are we talking about Google specifically? And at a couple of trainings, we've gotten that question, and I wanted to put this together for you guys to really show you why Google dominates the online space and why we really don't spend a lot of time talking about Yahoo, Bing, and some of the other search engines available. Okay, so let's start here, and I think one of the key measures to point out here is that daily page views for Google are over 7 billion. 7 billion page views daily, and that's a huge number. I mean, they dominate market share. Right below that, you can see I can't illustrate any stronger than that. 85.78% of all search market share globally is obtained by Google. So. It's the number one website. You're not going to be able to, you may find that you can sell ads, you can do some things to affect your ranking on Yahoo and Bing and all this kind of stuff, but you're just not going to get the return on investment that you're going to get with Google. And so if we're looking at, not a lot of time, we're looking at not a lot of resources, we're really going to have to put our money and our time into things that we're going to have to pay as the biggest return, and Google definitely will give us that. So, that just helps us reiterate our point. I think this is interesting. It doesn't really have a lot to do kind of with your campaign or how you can manipulate Google, but it shows you the beast that Google is. If you can look, you look at their profit. They lost 14 million in 2000, and then you can compare that to how much they made last year in 2009, and it just goes to show you that they're not slowing down. If anything, they're getting bigger and bigger exponentially. So we really want to ride that wave of popularity, and we really want to do our best to manipulate the research returns to give us the best possible opportunity to advertise our organization or candidate. And you know, this just highlights again their growing mass that Google becomes, and when they see things that are profitable and they see things that will advance their search capabilities, they're going to consume them. They have the power to outright buy it, and so they're going to do it. In 2006, they bought YouTube for 1.65 billion. YouTube itself is becoming a search engine within videos and content of that nature. Google bought them out, and so Google combined with YouTube really creates a monster in terms of getting your videos online and getting them in front of the eyeballs that would cost millions and millions if you were to do it through TV or some other avenue. What is this? Well, this is actually taken from our Google Analytics account, and I wouldn't worry too much about Google Analytics now because we're going to go into that in a later webcast. But what I want to show you here is that this is a percentage of all the web traffic that we had coming into AmericanMajority.org over a 1 month period. So in 1 month, 80% of the traffic came from Google. So I mean, that's why we're spending all of our time there. I'm not going to waste time and effort to get 8% of the traffic coming in to increase our rankings in that 8% sliver. Just not time effective, not cost effective. So in terms of ROI, that's return on investment, Google is definitely your best bet. So hopefully I've helped illustrate my point that, listen, it's a social capitalistic world out there, and Google is king. Google is no longer the world's search engine in all intents and purposes, especially in politics. It's the world's reputation engine. And you have to be aware of what Google is saying about you, what the internet really is representing you as or your organization as. And these are things we can control. And we're going to talk about some tactics over the next couple minutes that you can deploy today to start increasing your rankings on Google and to really start forming that identity that is going to be most beneficial to you and your organization or your candidate. So what we really want to start talking about is SEO, and you may or may not heard this. There's an industry around this, and you can go as far as you want to go, kind of in this rabbit hole. But we're gonna hopefully give you some advice here, do some very top level, some very beginner tactics that I think you can begin to deploy. Again, like I said today, to really make a difference. So again, SEO is search engine optimization. And essentially what that means is, how do we optimize the content that you have online so that search engines show it in a favorable way? So we can boil that down into two things, essentially, and I like to call it link love and content love. If you have link love and you have content love, you're going to get Google love. So let's first focus on link love. These are top 10 ways that you can increase the link love to your website. So what do I mean by link love? Google's algorithm is very complex. It's very proprietary. They don't share it with a lot of people, and rightfully so. It's their bread and butter, right? So what we do know about it is that it works essentially like this. One of the major components to how they rate a website or a piece of content online is based on the links that are coming into that site. So let's say, for instance, that I have a website or a blog on running a dairy farm. Well, how does Google know that my information is accurate, that that when they show my link or my website as one of the top returns for dairy farming, that it's going to be the best possible link, the best possible content that they can show the end user? Well, they use the link system here, and what that means is, let's say there's another guy who runs a chicken farming website, and if on his website or one of his pages he has information about dairy farming, and if he links to my website and says something to the effect of, for a really good information on dairy farming, please check out Austin James's blog on dairy farming at blah 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 blah.com. Google looks at the words that he used to link to my website, and they see that good, blog, dairy, and farming are in the keywords used in that link, and that he then linked to my website. So essentially, Google gives me a thumbs up for those keywords. So now multiply that across hundreds of websites, and you begin to understand that if a lot of people are tying those keywords specifically to my website, then Google can assume, and rightfully so, that my information is good enough to share. My information is important enough or accurate enough for those to tie their reputation to. And so essentially, the more people or more credible websites using the proper keywords linking to you, the higher up you're going to get in Google's rankings. So I hope that makes sense. So how do we do that? How do we get people to start to link to you? Well, first thing you can do, and the first thing I tell people what trainings is, you got to start creating lists. People love lists. They love to easily share lists, and lists are things that are easily digestible. So if you've had a blog or a website for years or months, go back and start to compile some of the most relevant blogs that you can put into a top 10 list or a top 5 list. For instance, at American Majority, we do a lot of trainings on political activism, and so maybe we could go back and compile 5 of our different blog posts into one blog post that says, here are the top 5 ways to engage in political activism right now. And so we can then link to, in that blog post, each one of those 5 articles. And that's a lot easier to share than having someone come through and read all of your different blog posts and having to compile their own top 10 list or their own 5. And so they're going to be more apt to share that with their users because it provides value to their network. So they're going to share that in larger chunks, which again it creates a link back to your website, which is ultimately what you want. So become an expert on something. What does this mean? Listen, it doesn't have to be politics. It doesn't have to be campaigning. Be an expert on something, though. You want people to link to you because the information is accurate and sound. I mean, if you have a hobby, that works, right? If you're an expert on whittling, then create a blog or a website on whittling. Your name needs to be tied to something of value, okay? It doesn't always have to be politics. Again, the point here is that when someone types in your name or Googles your name, as it may be, we want to make sure that we're defining as best as we can who we are in those top 10 or that front page links of Google. So, for instance, if someone types in Ned Ryan, President of American Majority, we want to ensure that if there's a spammer out there, maybe there's a liberal who has an axe to grind, that they're not spamming content onto Google, loading it up with a bunch of keywords like Ned Ryan, American Majority, and then putting a bunch of garbage about him that's not true, and that's going to be the only thing that the user sees when they type in that search term. So we want to make sure that we're getting information up there that puts Ned Ryan in a positive light, and that has kind of a consistent message that we've crafted. All right, syndicate an article. What does that mean? And there's tons of places out there that you can syndicate your articles. You don't have to just kind of exist in a vacuum. There's places out there that will push your website, your blog, to some of the major online hubs like Washington Post, New York Times. One such company is called Blogburst. If you haven't checked out Blogburst, I encourage you to do so. That's at blogburst.com. All right, another one is eZine Articles. That's EZINEARTICLES.com. And again, it's just a great way to get up there and submit your own information. Pick the appropriate category, and just starting to get your information out there. Start to cultivate those relationships with readers and people who comment. There's a ton of places to get out there and do it. Another one is Blogger Barter, right? bloggerbarter.com. And essentially what it does, it allows you to syndicate your blog. It allows you to get out there, and it's kind of this online marketplace or online magazine for bloggers. And it's a great way to get out there and to get your stuff read. And again, at no charge to you, no effort to you. So make sure that you're adding quality content, value content to the community. But if you are, I think you're going to see it really take off. Now, something also to consider is, blog indexes, blog search engines. As you see here, it's called blogsearchengine.com. You see this upper right-hand corner here where I've got my mouse. You see it says get featured, submit a blog, right? So there's tons of outlets out there where you can put your content and just have it almost automated. So every time you add a new blog post, every time you have a new website article, they're pushing it out there for you. They're kind of putting their fingers in a little bit of everything so that you can get seen, get heard, and make a name for yourself. And again, hopefully what we want is people to see it, to enjoy the content, and then to link back to you so that really helps really helps your website rather float to the top of the Google returns. If you have any questions, please feel free to shoot me an email at austin@americanmajority.org, and I'll send you a list of places where you can kind of submit and or syndicate your articles, your blog posts, your content. We're not going to go through it all here in the interest of time, but there's tons of places, and I can definitely help you find those. So Number four, what else can you do to kind of get up there? Ride the wave of popular topics. What do I mean by that? Pretty simple, right? If there's a hot topic going on, then people are going to be searching for it, and you're going to be more apt to get picked up by them. So, for instance, during a political season, you can go to google.com/trends, and what it will actually show you here is the hottest topics at the moment, right? So you can see what specifically about the candidates, what specifically about the political season, if anything, people are talking about. And it's important to notice that the hot topics is the topic that people are searching for most, not the actual terms they're typing in. Okay? But to the right of that is hot searches, and these are the actual search terms that people are typing into Google. So you can again take these different keywords and put them throughout, spread them throughout your blog post, as long as it makes sense and and it's a valuable blog post. You're going to put those keywords in there, and they're going to be hopefully caught by Google because these are the hottest search terms, and so you're more apt to get pulled up. And then hopefully people will again link back to your blog. Maybe they'll join to get email alerts. They'll catch your RSS feed. All things we're going to talk about later in this webcast series. So cultivate strategic relationships. That's a pretty simple one. Get out there and find bloggers who are writing about the same things you are. Send them an email. Leave comments on their blog. That's a big one. Leave comments. Link back to them. Right. Show them that you're willing to put the work in, and that if they show you love, you'll show them love. And just kind of cultivate those relationships like you would any other friendship. Publish an RSS feed. So what does that mean? Well, RSS feed stands for Rich Site Summary, and essentially what it is it's a way it's actually a system that allows others to receive updated blog content from your website or your blog without ever having to come back to your blog. What's the value in that? Well, the value is that if you can get them to come once, maybe you write a really great article, they don't ever have to come back again to still receive updated content. And who knows? Maybe they'll see a new post that they like even more, and they'll be more apt to link back to it or to recommend it to others, to share it on Facebook and Twitter, which increases your reach. And again, you're getting free marketing that way. So how do we create an RSS feed? Well, going back to an example of Google finding something that works and buying them up, we have FeedBurner, which is now feedburner.google.com. And what it will actually do is it'll actually burn a feed or create a feed for your website. If you have a WordPress website, there's a plugin that you can easily add to do that for you. And if you want help trying to figure that out, again, Austin at AmericanMajority.org, and we'll walk you through it. But I would encourage you to go to feedburner.google.com and give it a look. Set up your feed, and essentially the feed will just be a URL, a string of characters that you can then go and plug into sites like Deliverit. That's dlvr.it. And essentially what Deliverit does is it's a pretty cool service, right? So you put in the feed that you got from FeedBurner, click the Get Started button, and you'll be able to send that feed or that content, right, the blog post that you created through the feed. It'll go straight to Twitter. You can send it straight to LinkedIn. You can send it straight to Facebook, and it automates the process. So all your Facebook friends can see all your new blog posts without having to manually type it in. But the best part about it is that you can actually see the stats. You can track which blog posts were the most successful, which ones did people actually click on. Based on the highest rankings, based on the highest click-throughs, you can then go back and say, okay, well, this is the content that they find most valuable. I'm going to write more blog posts around that content. So a really great service. I believe it's free for right now. I definitely encourage you to go check it out. So number 7, review everything. Review. That's something that we're trying to get our staff here at American Majority to do, and I encourage you to go do it as well. It should be free for most sites. For instance, Amazon.com. We're all familiar with Amazon. Well, what about the book Liberty and Tyranny, right? A lot of you have read it. A lot of us have read it. Maybe you haven't read it, but maybe you've read another book. That's fine. For example's sake, if you look here, you'll see right below the book it says create your own review. Okay, and you can go in there, sign up for free, and create a review of that book. Right? Not only do you tie your name to that book, but Amazon being as big as they are, they get a lot of link love, and so they get a lot of Google love. So if someone types in your name, Amazon, because their content usually gets pushed up. If your name's tied to any of their content, which it will be if you're a reviewer, you're going to get pushed up. So what it does is it gives you a chance to put your content in front of other people. You know, if you're a conservative activist, we get a chance to see your thoughts on a lot of different books, and I would encourage you to read books on both sides of this political spectrum, and to create some very thoughtful commentary on your review of the books. I think that's going to shed a very positive light on who you are, and again, it helps you dominate Google's front page with information that you've created, you've cultivated to really present your best foot forward. So number 8, share the love, right? Share the love. Don't be stingy. Link to other people. Other people will, especially if you have a WordPress blog and everything's kind of automated, they can very easily check and see who's linking to them. And so maybe they've never heard of you, but they see that you've linked to them, and they'll come check you out. And if they like your content, they'll link back to you. And it's just a beautiful system. So I wouldn't be stingy with the links that I give out. I would definitely, again, find blogs that you find of value, find websites that you find of value, and then go ahead and give them some links. And so even more than that, how do we automate the process? Well, we got a trick for that too. Now, especially if you're on WordPress, this can be very easily done. There's a plugin that will actually do this for you. But for everybody else, again, we can definitely make this happen. I'm just going to take a little more elbow grease to get it done. So going back to a previous article that I showed you about the BlogBurst website, the website that will allow you to syndicate your blog content. As I was reading through this article, it was pretty interesting. When I got to the bottom, I realized that the individual had linked to other websites that talked about BlogBurst. Well, that to me was extremely valuable. So as I read through the article, I'm a little bit more interested in BlogBurst and what it offers in terms of syndication. I can now go to other resources and continue my research on BlogBurst. So not only does it add value to me, he's actually linked to other sites that will hopefully link back to him because it's shared content. They're writing about BlogBurst. He wrote about BlogBurst. Well, wouldn't it add value to their site to do the same thing and link back to him? So it's an ingenious idea and a really great way to share the link love. There's actually a plugin in WordPress that'll allow you to add this to the end of every post. They'll actually go in, look at the content that you've created, find relevant websites, and then plug in 4 or 5 links at the end. I can't remember the plugin off the top of my head, but again, shoot me an email and we'll get you set up with that. Wikis. I cannot stress to you enough how important wikis are. I'm not going to really get into it in the interest of time, but we're going to talk about wikis themselves in a later webcast. If you're not on Wikipedia, if you're not on Sunshine Review, I have to ask you, what are you doing? You got to get on there. You got to know what Wikipedia is saying about you. If there's not an article, create one. The barrier to entry is very low. There's tons of videos. We actually have resources on our website that will help you create wikis. So again, you want to talk about link love, wikis are chock full of link love. I believe there's 38 links on Thomas Jefferson's page within the first 3.5 paragraphs. First 3.5 paragraphs, 38 links going in or going out to other stuff. So there's a lot of links being shared, a lot of links coming into that. A lot of people have linked to him. If you want more information on Thomas Jefferson, here's the link. Go check it out on Wikipedia. And that's happened, infinite amount of times throughout the web space. So if you're not part of that, if you're not hitching your wagon to the rising star that is Wikipedia, you're missing out on a lot of free link love. Highly encourage you to do that. Again, we'll talk about it a little bit more in a later webcast. Some other wikis to check out, Wikipedia of course, but there's Ballotpedia, there's Judgepedia, and there's Sunshine Review, all 3 .orgs, all 3 fantastic resources. Again, we're going to delve into those a little bit more in a later webcast, but I want to put them in front of your face now to give you time to kind of check them out. Roll your sleeves up and get involved with those. All right, guys, get social. Very easy to understand. I'm not going to get too much into this. We're going to talk about Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and Foursquare and all these great resources a little bit later. But get social. Join social networks. You don't have to be 100% forthcoming with all the information. There's privacy settings that you can institute. There's a lot of really cool things that you can do with those. A lot of ways to segment your friends on Facebook so that you can be private with some and be more forthcoming with others. But again, we'll talk about all that later. But I do want to encourage you to take a look at them if you're not already on these spaces. So with that, guys, that's the first 2020 webcast that we're going to be doing. Again, it's just a very intro piece, but I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned a little bit. In our next webcast, we're going to talk about the body of work, right? How do you create and start a body of work from which you can then begin linking off of? So I hope you'll tune in for that, and I hope you'll consider signing up for our new 2020 webcast program. I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks.